there is a kind of personality that's drawn to this quest.
Kind
So
of a dork factor in there
yeah,
somewhere.
I mean, you're saying it, not me,
I'm
Eric. So
speaking to myself, and that's
yeah,
it.
yeah. Speak for yourself.
Welcome to the Greens and Blues 14 podcast. This episode, Zach breaks for no one. My new spreadsheet ups the dork factor, and we share a bunch of topics from our summer grab bag. Well, Zach, good afternoon. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, Eric, I'm well, but a little sad today. This is kind of our end of summer hiking season episode, and it really
Mhm.
is the end of the summer hiking season for me. I've returned to work. I guess I have to do that at some point in my life. I've returned to obligations and things that need to be done in service to other human beings and not just my own. So I'm a little sad. I had a wonderful hiking season. Really enjoyed getting up. I was able to summit, I think, 16 peaks this summer, which for
That's
me,
awesome.
pretty good given the
That's
fact that
really good.
I have to drive out a lot to do it. I can't just
Hmm.
weekend it. It was a great hiking season, but now I go to bed every night. My mind starts to flood with images of the summer that was, and those are going to have to sustain me for the next 8, 9, 10 months. And it's usually there's a lot of sadness involved or forlornness or something like that involved in those feelings, as wonderful as they are. So happy that I got to do some hiking this summer, but a bit sad that it's already over, and we'll return to this sentiment at the end of the show. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I think based on what you just said, maybe you'll have to take an extra trip or two out during the winter and bring
Ooh.
your micro spikes with you, and we'll try
Mm.
to tackle some 13ers in the deep snow.
You
Unless you
know,
don't want to do that. Who
we
knows?
didn't even really mention it on the pod, but Eric and I did try to do James Peak in March
We did.
in what appeared to be a blizzard. So
It sure felt like it.
like 60-mile-an-hour winds going up St. Mary's Glacier. And we have not talked about that travesty that we called off. Actually, we got fairways, but yeah, I'm going to have to do that. I will be out again in March this year, so maybe we'll make that happen, my friend.
Sweet. That'll
Yeah.
work. We're doing well. Like you said, school is starting up. Our boys are in school now. They've started with bittersweet
Mm.
feelings that go with that. I will try not to rub it in your face too much that I've done a hike or two since last I saw you, which was actually quite recently, but hoping to tackle a couple more trips here upcoming, which I also will try not to rub in your face. But yeah,
Please
it's
do. I can live vicariously through your hiking. I got in a lot in the early part of the season, so no, don't feel guilty about it. Gosh, how terrible would that be? No, it is rough. This is the time of the year where, physically you're probably peaking a little bit in
yeah.
the weather is getting a little less monsoony. The colors are changing. This is the time where I miss it the most.
Mm.
And as a native New Mexican, this is the time of the year where I miss the smells of fall or early
Mm.
fall as
Oh
well,
yeah.
which is not just pinon burning, but also chilies roasting in the afternoon, and
Oh man.
then the smell of pine and whatnot that kind of seems to emerge this bloom this time of year. So yeah, don't feel bad about it. Just go out and enjoy it. At least one of us can, right?
Well, I'll try and do it tastefully and not in a mean way. So, Zach, what in the world are we talking about today?
We found ourselves a bit aimless, Eric. We don't have like a central focus today. This is a end of summer grab bag, as it were, things that arose during the hiking season that we wanted to talk about. Most people, their summers are probably winding down when they're listening to this. So this is just some collected reflections before we begin some fall podcasts that are maybe a few interviews here and there and a few other things. We had some assorted thoughts that we wanted to touch on. none of them merited a whole episode, although I got a story in here that may be worth one. Um, and none of them merited a whole episode. So we just wanted to talk about just a couple things that we encountered in our hikes this summer. And some are funny, some are serious, and some are a little bit more philosophical in nature. So we just wanted to share our assorted thoughts. I've been told by my daughter, who is now a sixth grader, that she likes it when we do episodes like this. So Cassia, this one's for you, kid.
Awesome. I love it. Well, I think, Zachary, you're going to kick us off.
You know, I am. I have, we put this on our outline under the heading of etiquette. I have a couple things to say about trail etiquette that I was thinking about this summer.
I have to say, I'm smiling very wide and I'm chuckling on the inside because
Grinning like a Cheshire cat.
I about know what's about to happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first one is I was hiking on Quail Mountain right before the Leadville 100, and then you and I went and hiked Holy Cross a couple days after that. And on both occasions, as I do more frequently now, I encountered some trail runners. And I'm not saying this to knock on trail runners. My encounters with trail runners are oftentimes either coming up or going down. It doesn't matter which. I am surprised that someone comes upon me so quickly. And then almost invariably, they don't give any verbal cues that they are in front of you or behind you. And almost invariably, I am expected to dive off the trail somewhere and allow them to pass me. I don't know what the etiquette is. I don't know if it's written anywhere. I know there's the downhill, uphill kind of rules. Usually those are just negotiated by hikers because they can talk.
There's enough time.
Yeah, I need a break. Go ahead and come on down. Or, oh, there's a spot over here. Come on. But with a trail runner, you don't have that kind of moment of politeness that you can have. And on a couple of these occasions, there really wasn't anywhere for me to go. I was going up from Sheep Gulch on Quail Mountain, which is quite steep. There's not a lot of places to go on that trail if a trail runner comes directly at you. And I was the one that was expected to jump out of the way in no time because this person was not breaking their stride. This is multiple people. And so I don't know. I guess maybe this is old man barks at wind, but I don't like that. I don't think it's polite. I think it's quite rude. I think I have just as much right to the trail as a runner does. I wish that I was encountered with a bit more politeness when that occurred. I'm never going to be that guy that doesn't get out of the way. Like, I'm nice. I just wish that there wasn't the expectation that I would just dive off to the side at a moment's notice and get out of somebody else's way. I don't think any trail runners listen to this 'cause they're way more hardcore than we are. On all these occasions, I've kind of jumped out of the way and I've been like, what if I had just stood there? Like, would you have run me over? So I've got another funny one, but that's maybe the only serious comment I'm going to make today. So
Well, I think from what I've read, Zach, I like when you mentioned a verbal cue. I do think that's the etiquette that is generally expected of trail runners is to give some kind of a verbal cue, similar to what a biker would do on a
on
trail
your
when
left,
there's a pedestrian. Exactly.
on your right.
Left. Just say something. Just say something.
Yeah.
Hey, because especially like you said, when two hikers are coming face to face and the trail's narrow enough to where one kind of has to move off to the side a little bit to give more room, there's time. There's time to interact just a little bit for there to be a little bit of eye engagement. And hey, you and I are both here. You and I both see each other. There's an ability for each of us to react and kind of communicate verbally or non-verbally on what we're going to do in this situation. When there's a trail runner that comes up very quickly on someone, it may surprise the trail runner too. Oh, hey, here's a hiker. I didn't realize I just came over this hill or whatever. I didn't realize that you were there. So, but I think it is incumbent on the runner, the person that's going at the faster pace, to say, hey, I'm coming, or hey, I'm on your left, or whatever it is, to say, you don't see me, but I see you. Maybe that's a luxury that the runner has, but I do think it's incumbent on the trail runner to make that engagement, because I'm thinking of the trail runner that passed us going up Holy Cross. That was very sudden. Like
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything. There's no leaves for them to crunch on the ground, and all of a sudden I have a split second, you and I both did, and there's this person passing us on the trail, and the trail was quite narrow. So that's what I've read, is that it's incumbent on the trail runner to make that engagement, to initiate the, hey, I'm coming up behind you and I might need a little bit more room. And to your point, Zach, hopefully they're not expecting you to fall off the side of a mountain to make room for them, but no one can see it, but Zach is making a diving motion to the side. That's a valid point, and I don't like getting run over by trail runners, and I'm sure they don't like trampling on me as they're going up a mountain either.
Well, and that's the thing that especially tends to happen on 14er hikes or any hiking. Hikers are nice. The community of hiking people is great and supportive. And every time you see someone, it's, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Now, there are exceptions to this.
Most of the time.
Yeah, 90% of the time, it's, hey, how you doing? I hope you're having a great day. It's beautiful
Yeah.
up there. Or,
Yep.
wow, looks like you're having, a really good time. Keep going, man. And so oftentimes it's like that. And so it's just weird when you get this kind of nonverbal interaction that's basically in the form of, hey, get out of my way.
Yeah, getting run over.
Yeah, almost getting run over. I'm glad that what you read basically validates my own ethical intuitions, Eric. That's what ethics are about. They're about validating what you feel.
Well, I don't think most hikers, especially if you can't hear a trail runner coming up on you,
Yeah.
what are we going to do? There's nothing we can do. We don't know you're coming. At least visually, a trail runner can see ahead of them and see that there's someone coming up ahead of them. So I don't know. That makes sense to me, but
Yeah. Okay, so my other etiquette story here, Eric.
it's a good one.
I'm going to tell a story and then we're going to get to the take home that I'm hoping it's kind of obvious. So, Eric and I this summer, we went and hiked up to Willow Lake together. It's below Kit Carson, Crestone Group, Mount Adams. It's a beautiful little hike. Great on its own, even if you're not going for a 14er. While we were going, I told Eric this story of when my wife and I did this hike. I think it was 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. Is the end of the summer. We had been living in Copper Mountain for the summer, as we used to do. And we were headed home, and I said, hey, let's just stop in and hike up to this pretty lake. It's great. Kinsey goes, yeah, that's awesome. So if anyone that's listening to this have done this hike, you kind of start out by going up a series of switchbacks. You kind of go up over a rise, and then you head up this valley towards Willow Lake, and it's kind of steep. And you basically go up a hanging valley, a glaciated hanging valley, and you kind of go up this rock feature, go under a waterfall. And that time of year, there were lots of raspberries there. It was fantastic. We kind of top out at kind of the level where Willow Lake is at, but it's still about a half mile, maybe even a mile from Willow Lake itself. Kind of top out, and there's a bunch of campsites there that people camp in. So Kinsey and I are hiking. It's pretty early in the morning. We were used to getting up early for hiking then. So, it's maybe 9, 10 in the morning by the time we get there. We're walking along that kind of flat spot before you get to the lake. And I swear, Eric, maybe in the trail or a foot off the trail, there is a guy who is squatted down, just moons over my hammy, just like...
Love the Denny's reference.
Yeah, that's Denny's reference. I'm glad you caught that. Like, just butt cheeks just as glistening in the sunshine in the early morning, just pooping right in the middle of the flippin' trail. And I remember looking at Kinsey, and I remember Kinsey looking at me, and both of us being like, what is going on here? How could somebody be pooping in the trail?
In the middle of the trail.
Middle of the flippin' trail. Like, I saw their tent off. So here's the theory I concocted in my head. They were staying in their tent, and they're like, oh, I need to go like 20 feet from my tent to go use the potty or something. And they just walked and they found an open spot. Well, the open spot was the trail. Talk about yielding, right? Like, this guy's in the trail. We had to walk around him. Like, he ain't going anywhere. He's got his pants around his ankles. So...
Did he make eye contact with you at any point during this encounter?
So he was facing away from us. He was
Okay.
looking up the trail. So we came around and I see this guy and I'm like, I think I said out loud, "Oh, that's how it's going to be." And Like I walked around him and Kinsey walked around and for better or
Oh my
worse,
god.
I did not turn around to make eye contact with the dude.
Okay.
I just kind of like kept on going. So no, I did not make eye
Oh
contact. I did not
man.
see his face. It was a he. I don't know what he did when we walked back through. There was no poo in the trail, at least. Maybe he buried it. Maybe he carried it off. Maybe the goats up there had fun with it. I don't know what happened. But for the love of Pete, don't poop on the
Uh,
trail. That's my other bit of
that's the
trail etiquette. And maybe I'll yield
oh.
to trail runners, but I do not yield to pooers. If you do that, I'm just going to walk right over you. So
Oh my gosh.
I've never seen anything like it in all the rest of my years of hiking. That was a one off. I've seen people where they clearly this where they clearly I'm like going up one way and they were maybe going the other way and they got off trail to go use the bathroom and they didn't realize that someone up trail could just totally see them. I've
See him?
that
Yeah.
that's happened before, right? Where I'm like
Yeah.
coming down the
Yeah,
trail
yeah.
and I'm like, "Oh wow, there's somebody just going poo right there." They couldn't have known that like the trail switched back right above them and that I could like see them or something,
Hmm.
right? So I could get that, but
That's
this was
honest mistake. Yeah.
honest mistake. This one was clearly just somebody that,
Didn't care.
yeah,
Wasn't paying attention.
long hair don't care. Or I don't know, but yeah. So anyway,
Oh.
trail runners and poo rules of yielding. We need to spell these things out.
No way to kick us off, Zach.
Uh,
Oh man.
well, Eric, you said you had some stories from a recent hike to share. What do you got?
Oh gosh, I don't have anything like that. I can promise you, I have not seen a human being poop on the trail that I can recall at least. Maybe I've hidden it deep in the recesses of my subconscious mind. But I did take a hike recently that I think yielded some interesting stories. So last year we had a Zach Goes Solo episode where we talked about your adventures on a trio of 10-mile Centennial 13ers, Crystal, Pacific, and Atlantic,
Mm-hmm.
which inspired me to kind of recreate that. And I was able to succeed in one third of that in the summer of 2024, where I was able to summit Crystal and then a couple of other random
Mm-hmm.
13ers nearby.
And
But
we
I
talked
chickened
about
out.
that. Yeah.
We did. I was not able to summit Pacific or Atlantic because I looked at Pacific from Crystal and said, "There's no way I'm doing that. That looks hairy." I got kind of scared off. And then the beginning of 2025, one of my goals was to go back and summit Pacific, which I attempted
And
earlier this summer.
and you did.
And I did. I was able to tackle both Atlantic and Pacific. I have to say, so tackled them from the Mayflower Gulch side. I
Okay.
have to say that is quickly becoming one of my favorite parts of the whole state. That is such a pretty area. I would much prefer the west side of that trio of centennials rather than the east side. Just personal preference, but there's just so many trees, a few really pretty basins. Mayflower Hill by itself is
Yep.
really cool. I love that area. I'm hiking up the Mayflower Gulch Road, which is a four-wheel drive trail road. If you have high clearance, you can drive up from the parking lot. I did not do that. And I got passed by a forerunner. And maybe a half mile up the trail, I see that forerunner is kind of stuck in some ruts. I would say there's maybe a couple of spots on that road that are going to get really rough for vehicles. And
Yep.
they were stuck in one of them. So they were kind of spinning their tires. Driver was trying to get through. Passenger got out, trying to help direct. I came up on them. I tried to kind of help in whatever lame ways I was able to, but eventually they got unstuck. Driver rolls down his window and I said, "Man, nice job. That was some tough work there." And he said, "Thanks a lot. I appreciate it." And he said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going up to the Boston Mine to try and hike Atlantic and Pacific." And he said, "Oh, that's where we're going too." "Okay, see you later." And he pulls off and just takes off and I'm like, "All right, maybe I'll see you later, but you just left me in the dust." Okay, that's fine. Like I wasn't going to ask for a ride, but it sure would have been nice to get one, but
Oh man, that would have been great.
in any case, that's fine. I hike up another mile, eventually find the trail. The trail that Bill Middlebrook shows on 14ers.com is the right way to go. But as you look at the map, it looks wonky. It looks like you're kind of
Mm,
going out of your way, but it's because there's a trail there. And so
okay.
it's It makes a lot of sense. Eventually get up most of the way to Atlantic. I enjoyed that route up. It's class two. You're ridge hiking for a good chunk of it.
Yep.
As I get towards the summit, I look up and I saw some people ahead of me and I thought, oh, interesting. This was middle of the week on a Wednesday. I have multiple groups of people on these mountains. Okay, that's fine. I look up and there's what I think is the summit, and it ended up being the summit. A person standing there at the top and not moving for several minutes. I'm thinking, what's happening here? And it looks like they're almost dressed like an angel. I'm thinking, what is this? Is like, it's getting kind of mystical here. I get up, I hike kind of on the trail around the summit. As I'm pulling up around the summit, a guy comes down and speak is very, very low tone. He's like, we're having a Catholic mass up here, just to let you know. You're welcome to join in, but I just wanted to let you know. And I said, oh, okay. I said,
Interesting.
I want to respect you guys. That's totally great. I'll just kind of walk by. And he said, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I promise you, I did not wake up that morning expecting to see a Catholic mass at the top of Atlantic Peak. That was kind of fascinating. But I ended up catching up with them on Pacific Peak's summit. They couldn't have been three nicer guys, super cool. Just that one of them happened to be a priest and conducting a Catholic mass. So I thought
Okay.
that was very interesting.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. How did you feel about that? Because I have two conflicting thoughts about that, but I'd like to hear what your thoughts are, Eric.
It was totally fine. I had no issues with it at all. I was surprised. That I guess that would be the main thing
Yeah,
that I was just
that's a bit absurd. Like
it was
that's out of place, right?
it was very out of place. Like I've seen some interesting things at summits before, but that one might take the cake.
Yeah.
Never expected to see a church service at the top of a mountain at 13,800 plus feet. So,
Yeah, I feel like in a way that's a good way to honor the sacredness of a beautiful peak like
mm,
Atlantic. It's got
yeah.
a great, well, all peaks are sacred in a way. Beautiful views, no better place for a mass. On the other hand, it's weird because kind of like the trail runner story, it's your summit too for that if you want to go up there and you want to stand in the spot where they happen to be, you should be allowed to do it. And if you want to go up there and you want to call your wife and break their silence, that's your choice to make, right? Like, it doesn't sound like they were policing people's behavior or anything up there, so it's all good. Yeah, there is part of me that's kind of like, more power to you if you want to do that, but also you should be willing to recognize that if other people want to wander through your business, then that's their choice too. It's not a church.
Yeah.
And it's certainly not a cathedral, and you're not a bishop, so like I am here of my own accord, and it's not a church. But anyway, that's really cool. Don't see that every day.
No, my thought process was I'm probably coming back here after I summit Pacific. And so I thought of ways to maybe kind of shortcut the summit going back to Atlantic. And
Yeah.
every time I looked, I was like, I
No,
should
you
probably
got to go back over.
just reascend the whole thing, which I
Yep.
did. And so I knew I was going to be able to claim the summit at some point and spend some time there, which I
Okay.
did. So it kind of made up for it.
Classic Eric being the nice guy in the room right there.
It was cool. And then I was able to go down and then go up Pacific. I got really, really, I didn't go to the Pacific Tarn, the highest named lake in the US, but I got really close to it. And man, what a view that is.
Yeah, it's cool.
That lake is so awesome. And eventually made it up all the way to Pacific Peak, which was super cool in and of itself. That hike, the whole way is class two. Like I've read so many, there's like 8,000 ways to summit Pacific, and every one of them is like two plus or class three, except for that one. The South Slopes of Pacific, unabashedly class two, really straightforward. Was really thankful for that. And I was able to kind of look down into that little crab claw cliff that
Hmm.
is on the west side of the summit and that I know you and Lacey did many years ago. And I don't know how you guys did that, but that was impressive. It's a little bit sketchy at points there, I think.
Yeah, that's a really good spot. As you noted, that's where my dog Lacey and I crossed over. That was her first, well, I guess technically her second 13er. She'd done Crystal Peak earlier in the day, and I was
Yeah.
freaking out on that. Um, I mean, you buried the lead here, though, Eric. What happened to the Forerunner guys? Did you see them after that?
So I actually met them at the summit of Pacific Peak.
Oh,
They
cool.
went up the West Ridge, so they
Oh,
did that Class 3 scramble.
they
They
did it
did
the
the
hard
hard
way.
thing.
Yeah.
They did. And so, yeah, I was able to kind of catch up with them a little bit. We took each other's pictures at the summit and then we kind of played leapfrog going down and then re-summiting Atlantic and then going down from there. So they ended up being pretty decent guys.
They give you a ride down?
So they did not. I actually got
Ah.
down just before they did. So I got to their car and I'm like, well, looks like I'm hiking down too. So and that's totally fine. So I think on the day it's like 8.5 miles
Yeah.
round trip to do it that way. So it's not crazy. I think maybe 3,600 feet of gain. So shorter than some of the other hikes you and I had done previously in the summer. So
By about a half.
on some of them, yeah. So yeah, a fun day, some fun stuff that kind of came out of it, and a cool pair of Centennial 13ers out of it, and I think an increased appreciation for Mayflower Gulch and that whole area. Really, really pretty. I would recommend anyone that is interested in Centennials to tackle those from the west side and
Yeah.
give that a go. I think it's really pretty.
I mean, the lakes on the other side, McCullough Gulch and Mohawk Lakes and stuff, are
Hmm.
gorgeous too, but that Mayflower Gulch is special. That's a cool
It
spot.
is. It is a cool spot. So, all right, Z, what's next on your list in this grab bag?
Well, we've got a duet of animal stories here to tell. So, the reason I was hiking Quail Mountain a week ago was I was actually planning to hike Irvin and Blaurock, which are a couple
Indeed.
class 3 peaks in the Swatch. That was the aim. I drove up to the trailhead and I tried to sleep in my car, my RAV4. I say tried because I had a critter visitation. I had an animal that was crawling under my car, and before anyone thinks, wow, that porcupine or a marmot or something, no, it wasn't anything big. I kept looking under my car. It wasn't a big animal. But for part of the night, had an animal crawling under my car. I could hear it, and it was keeping me from sleeping. And then somewhere around 3:30 or 4 in the morning, that animal somehow got into my car. I do not know how this happened. I could hear it rustling around, and then this is the creepiest part. Like, I could go into more detail, but I felt it crawling on my arm. And I like had the biggest freak out. I talked to myself. I like bolted out of bed, and I very quickly proceeded at 4 in the morning at a trailhead at 11,000 feet or whatever to empty out the entire contents of my car onto the ground. I inspected everything. I never found it. I don't know if there's a take home here, but if anyone else has had this problem, please email us.
Yeah, let us know.
This is the second time this summer this has happened to me. It happened previously in the summer near Music Pass at the first hike of the summer I did on Marble Mountain. I had something crawling around, and I actually could see its little tail. It may have been a pocket mouse or a chipmunk or something. This time, this was so tiny, it was probably a field mouse
Mm.
or a little pocket mouse. It's happened twice now, and so if there are any other RAV4 owners out there, I would love to know. I have a RAV4 Prime, and so it's got the big battery compartment in the back. I don't know if they're
Mhm.
getting up through that. I have a skid plate too in the front. I don't think they're getting up through that. I think they're getting up through kind of the middle panel underneath my car. I don't know how the heck they're getting into my car. So, if anyone's experienced this, please reach out and tell me what I need to do before I go absolutely insane and put chicken wire all over the bottom of my car. I even had mothballs out. Like, I have a little
You
jar of
did. That's
mothballs
right.
I drive around with, and I like open them up under my car to like scare off critters. It didn't do a darn thing in this case. I don't know what happened, but it freaked me out. I was so afraid they were chewing my wires that I drove down because I didn't want to have to get towed from that spot, which is why I didn't end up hiking Irvin and Blaurock.
Yep.
So, funny story. Funny, haha, I guess, but also funny peculiar. So, a really weird night where I didn't get more than maybe a couple hours of sleep, and I hiked Quail Mountain the next day as a result because I knew that would be a little easier and less committing, but a little mousy in my
Oh my
car.
gosh. That's like the stuff of nightmares and horror
Oh,
movies, I think. That's ridiculous. And So
Just to feel those little feet walking on me.
oh my gosh, you probably some of our listeners are already like, oh no, I'm gonna turn this episode off.
uh,
There are some cars these days I know that have instead of plastic wire coverings,
they have
they're made
soy.
of soy. Yeah, and so I think that's what's attracting at least certain animals, but we've got to have some listeners that have had that kind of experience. Hopefully have some solutions because that's again, you're talking horror movie kind of stuff
I'm
here.
I'm willing to do anything at this point. Like if I need to wrap my entire car in mesh, I will do that. If I need to spray it with like some repellent the minute I get into camp on the underside of my car, I will do that because it's happened twice now, and both times I'm like, okay, I have gotten no sleep at all, and I'm super worried. Like, I've got this car that's like basically half electric, half gas, and I'm like, well, if it chewed through the wires, it would obviously it would smoke whatever
It would
chewed through
be
it, but
it'd be toast, yeah.
yeah, that'd be like Christmas Vacation. If that cat had 9 lives, he just spent them all. So yeah, if anyone knows, I don't think RAV4s have the soy wiring, but there's
Okay.
clearly something that's attracting them. Maybe it's the fact that I have food in the car. That might be too obvious, but they shouldn't be able to get into the car.
Well, later on, we parked at the trailhead for Mount of the Holy Cross for the standard route, and we were at the campground. And
Hmm.
your car was there, my car was there, and I don't think you had anything try to get into your car
Not
that
that
night.
time. Nope.
Yeah, so
We wouldn't know though. We were in a tent.
that's
So
true. We weren't there, so hmm.
I think you have some animal related ideas here for our grab bag episode, Eric. That takes
Yeah.
us to the next thing to talk about.
Yeah, so you had mentioned doubling down on some thoughts from an earlier podcast, which I'm going to do right now as well. So during our hot takes episode, I talked about dogs on the mountain and how I had this conflict inside on how I would approach dogs on the mountain. And it kind of led to some internal restrictions that I would put on myself that I would recommend to others in terms of whether or not to bring your dog on the mountain. It feels like, Zach, in the summer of 2025, the number of SAR rescues that were dog related are up in that we're finding more rescues of dogs specifically from the mountain. And so I saw a post that happened in mid-August of 2025, and I want to read part of it. So this is from Chaffee County near Buena Vista, the Collegiate Peaks in central southern Saguache. On August 18th, Chaffee County SAR received a call for a hiker with a dog in distress on Mount Princeton. While responding to the mission, the ground team was notified by a passing hiker that there was another party with a dog in need of assistance further up the trail. And they go on to say that the mission was concluded by 8:45 p.m. and both dogs were able to be rescued. We have seen an uptick this year with dogs needing assistance on Mount Princeton, and it's important to remember dog missions can quickly turn into human missions. That's something I never even took into
Yeah.
account, that if you're stressing about your dog because your dog's in distress, you're automatically kind of getting lumped into the similar category of needing
Yeah.
some help. When taking dogs into the backcountry, it is important to ensure their needs are part of your personal safety plan. Preparing for their hydration, endurance, and comfort is just as important as preparing for your own. We encourage thorough trail research and understanding that not all 14ers are dog friendly. There's a lot there. I'm not going to rehash everything you and I went through, Zach. I think that we both tried to offer some fair advice in terms of getting your
Hmm.
dog ready for the mountain if you desperately want to take your dog up the mountain. But I find it sad that SAR is not designed to rescue dogs. And many times they will do it out of the kindness of their heart, but they should not have to. Your dog is not there of their volition. They're there of your volition. You're the one taking your dog up there. So you have to make sure you're prepared. You have to make sure you're taking care of your dog. And here's where I'm going to kind of double down. If you can't rescue your dog by yourself, I don't think your dog belongs up there. I'm sorry, that's going to anger some people, but SAR should not be used to rescue your dog. If you get in trouble and you need to be rescued, that's what they're there for, and that is understandable. But to complicate things by bringing your pup up there, I just And especially with there really is an uptick of dog rescues happening, I just fear where this is going to go, Z. I don't know. I might be paranoid. I might be reading more into this than I need to, but man, I love dogs. I don't want to see dogs in distress, and I don't want to see dogs that are getting in trouble and
Yeah.
having to be rescued by someone that's a stranger, effectively having to help rescue them. Their owner should be the one taking care of them and rescuing them if they need to. So when it comes to like big dogs, man, big dogs are harder to rescue because they're heavier, and especially if you're
Harder to
above,
take
say,
down because they're
harder
heavier
to
too.
harder to take down, and especially if you're at 13,000 feet and you got to get down to 11. Man, are you really going to lose that much elevation and hike that far with a 100+ pound dog in your arms or in a sling or whatever it is? I don't know, Z. So that's my grab bag take from this summer is we got to figure this out. We can't be just hauling, a 150-pound lassie up there just because we think they're equipped for it. And I don't know.
I mean, I can see particularly why Princeton. It surprised me when I did Princeton with my dog Lacey, who was a hardened hiker at that point. She's a rock star, and even she had trouble on Princeton because that last stretch, once you leave the road, you're on rocks a lot.
Yep.
And that was hard on her little pads. And she got torn up a little bit on that. And at that point, she was a dog that was hiking 3 to 4 days a week and had done a bunch of peaks that summer already. And even that was tough on her. So if you're going to take your dog, make sure that it's a trail that doesn't involve a lot of that kind of rock hopping. Because for dogs, if they catch an edge on those rocks, it's going to tear up their little pads. Dogs will fight through dehydration. Dogs will fight through hunger. Dogs will push through fatigue. But discomfort, but once their pads are done, they clock out. And I think that's what happened in that story you read is that whatever dog that was just decided to lay down and it's just like, nope, not doing it.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm with you. Buyer beware. You should know what you're getting yourself into, what you're getting your poor little doggy into when you do all this stuff. And sometimes it's okay to leave your dog at home.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be there everywhere with you. Well, that takes us to my next point, which is from rescue of dogs to potential rescue of humans. So in my very eventful Quail Mountain journey, where I had a mouse in my car, I ran into trail runners, I also, on the way down, encountered a gentleman. I was hiking down the trail, and I ran into these two guys that were kind of standing around chatting. And I talked to one of them for a minute, and then he looks at me and goes, "Do you know first aid?" And I said, "Well, I used to be certified, but I'm not anymore. What's going on?" And he looked at the other guy. He said, "Well, I came upon this guy, and he was passed out in the middle of the trail." And I said,
man.
"What?" He looked fine then. He said, "Well, I got stung by a bee, and when I get stung by a bee, I pass out." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Are you okay now?" And so we went through the anaphylactic shock checklist. Do you have trouble breathing? Is your skin warm? Do you have a headache? Is your windpipe constricted? So we kind of went through the list, and he seemed to be okay. But the first gentleman that I had talked to had already rendered some first aid. And so this is my plea to everybody to carry with you first aid. Usually it's not for you. It may be for someone else. So this guy had already checked on him, given him a couple Benadryl. So he was probably going to have a great nap later on that day. He had enough stuff on him to render rudimentary first aid in an area where you didn't get cell phone coverage. I thought that was great that this guy hiked with some I don't know if Benadryl's in the 10 essentials, but boy, an antihistamine is really important in your first aid kit. I carry at least some antihistamines, some pain pills, and some anti-inflammatories in my first aid kit. Yeah, if you don't have those now, go get some bennies and throw them in there, because I don't know if this guy was going to go into shock. It didn't seem like he was, but boy, it didn't hurt to administer this stuff. So just another lesson in carrying all the stuff, even if you know you might not need it. Never know if you're going to run into somebody. Eventually, I got the number. This guy was going to help out with the Leadville 100. I got the number of this guy's wife, And so when I got down and got into cell phone range, I called her and she was able to send somebody up to check on him. So,
Okay.
hey, hikers got to help each other out. So, and one of the ways we can do that is just having a well stocked first aid kit.
Wow. Yeah, it just sounds like he might have saved this guy's life. I mean, geez, if he
Could
had.
have, or just could have given him a good nap, but you never know, right? Like prevention's the best medicine. I'm glad he did it.
And this is on Quail Mountain?
So this is in Sheep Gulch, what is
Okay.
or is right below Hope
Mm-hmm.
Pass. Not something you expect to see when you do that. And so after this, the guy's like, well, I'm going to go on up and man the aid station. And I'm like, I better get down this trail in case this guy isn't good. So I flew down the
Yeah.
trail and was able to get in touch with his wife. So yeah, definitely not something you expect to see every day, especially on
No.
Hope Pass. But
Oh my gosh. Whew. Well, and good thing he was able to ask you, hey, do you have some first aid background? And you were able to have enough to give some confidence that, okay, well, you've had some Benadryl, you're likely to be okay long term, but thank goodness this other hiker ran into you and found you on the trail. My goodness. I
yeah,
can't
I
imagine.
mean, the whole time though, I'm thinking if he is undergoing anaphylactic shock, what the heck am I going to do, right?
Yeah,
Like,
what's anybody gonna do if they don't
I,
have an EpiPen or something?
I don't have an EpiPen. I don't carry one.
No.
I have Benadryl. I could, if that other guy hadn't given him any, I could grind it up and put it under his tongue and get him to absorb it maybe. I mean, the next best thing is I trail run up to Hope Pass again, where there is cell phone reception. I call 911 or I hit my personal locator beacon.
Mm-hmm.
But short of that, like I don't carry around epinephrine with me. So
No.
I was really hoping the guy was going to be okay. I was like, if he is undergoing anaphylactic shock, what the heck am I going to do?
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's my plea. That goes with doggy first aid.
for
I like
sure.
the transitions here today, Eric. We just go from animals to dogs to first aid, smooth as
Yeah.
glass.
Well, this next one's not going to be smooth at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, this will be like grinding gears.
Right, exactly. Stop to a halt.
So what's our next item here, Eric?
My next one, Zach. So you know very well that I'm a nerd. And so you combine a love of like numbers and stats and data with the mountains. There's kind of a meeting point at the website Lists of John. So for
Yeah.
those that are not familiar, John Kirk has started this website, Lists of John, where he shows all the mountains. Actually, I think across the country. I
Yep.
looked up my home state of Michigan, and he lists up there Mount Arvon, number one, a summit elevation of 1,970 some feet. So go Mount Arvon. But so I was looking on there, and I got to be careful when I go on Lists of John Z because when I do, I find myself going on several different rabbit holes, different mountains, different comparisons, and things like that. But where I found myself recently was trying to take data from the top 150 mountains or so and
Mhm.
kind of figure out what the difference was between the previous map elevation of those mountains and what
Oh,
LiDAR has given us.
yeah.
So I plugged everything into Excel and I had to kind of manipulate a few things, but I found the 14ers, unofficial and official, that were most affected by LiDAR. I was thinking of having you guess which mountains were most effective, but I think that
Ooh.
would be hard to do. But what I will say is the 14ers that were most affected were all unranked. So
So conundrum.
Conundrum saw the biggest loss in elevation due to
Uh,
LiDAR. It lost 23 feet.
that's what I would have thought.
Okay,
Um,
interesting. You would have guessed
that
that.
yeah, I would say conundrum. Wow, this is fun. So is 23 the biggest difference of any of them?
It's the biggest loss in total.
Okay.
But no, I'm sorry. Northwest Lindsay. So if we're going to include unranked, unnamed, so there's what, a 12 to 15
Yeah.
that 14ers.com lists in quotes and
Yep.
grayed out in the 14er checklist. Bill, I think, basically gets his list from Lists of John here. Northwest Lindsay, unranked, unnamed, lost 32 feet.
Wow.
The biggest gain was 62 feet. And,
Whoa.
and this was also unnamed, unranked. And it's kind of near maybe one of your arch nemesis, if I'm guessing
Oh.
correctly.
El Diente?
You got it. It's just between El Diente and Mount Wilson. So there's a point
Really?
called Pinpoint that was a 13er. 13,980 was the previous elevation. It gained 62 feet, and
Now it's
it
an
has
unranked 14er?
it has almost no prominence. It's
Yeah.
basically Wilson, and then you go down and get this little pinpoint, and then you go to El Diente. So that was fascinating that it gained that much elevation from LiDAR.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of weird. Um,
Did anything get un-14ered as a result of this? Did it?
it did not, although I believe Challenger lost its official status as a result of LiDAR because of prominence. I'm going to take a quick gander here.
Oh, so it didn't have the requisite 300 feet of
Yeah.
loss.
Challenger is listed here in red, and the prominence is listed in red at 264. So I do think yeah, the previous map prominence was 301. So it lost its prominence
It lost
as a result of
37
LiDAR.
feet. Yeah.
Yep. And
Fascinating.
it's unofficial now as a result.
If you can hear this, Challenger Peak, you're always official in my heart.
You got up there as a kid, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I was 18.
Oh, okay. All right.
Some of this is, I'm not geeky like this. For me,
I
a
am.
mountain's more about what I feel like. Does it feel like a mountain? Yeah, it feels like a mountain. But
Yeah.
that's fascinating. I noticed that Grizzly Peak is now 3 feet from a 14er.
That was the next thing I was going to say was Grizzly was below 13,990 and now it's 13,997. So
I
I
am
know
going to go
LiDAR.
stack some rocks on that bad boy.
Well,
And I'm
what's
going to
funny is
schlep rocks up that. I'm going to take one boulder a year up that flipping trail, and I've hiked that thing, and I'm going to be the
yeah, you have.
first to have done it as a 14er.
I don't know how deep I'm going to get into this conversation, but I shouldn't go down this rabbit hole, but I'm going to just briefly mention it. John Kirk and a colleague of his at Stanford, Andrew Kermsey, I don't know if I'm saying Andrew's last name right, released a paper where they kind of analyzed the LiDAR data and they postulate that the data that's coming from LiDAR might not be quite as accurate as we were hoping.
Hmm.
And I've read similar things where folks analyze like marshland
Oh
and
yeah.
tree canopies can kind of get in the way and provide some noise to the data. And so
Hmm.
this is different, obviously, in a mountain summit where there isn't marsh or trees, but I think they're basically trying to say that there's maybe some more work to be done to enhance the accuracy of LiDAR and make it a little more accurate than we thought it was. So who knows? Maybe, I thought LiDAR was supposed to get us to within, several inches of the
Yeah.
truth. Maybe Grizzly Peak is a 14er.
I mean, at one point it was, and then it
Was it
wasn't.
real? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was for a long time. There are still some old USGS maps that have it as a 14er because, that's back when they were doing this with a sextant and
Hmm.
just reading off nearby places they knew the elevation of. And
Hmm.
you get compounding error when you come up
Hmm.
so far. So, yeah, they thought that Grizzly was a 14er, then it's not. And now it's creeping back towards its former glory. As someone who's tried Grizzly once and then did it a second time, finally did it. And I love that summit. I love that area. I'm going to be on the Get Grizzly Up There train with LiDAR. I'm going to leave no trace. I'm not going to mess with the mountain, but pulling for you, buddy.
I like it. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty neat. Were there any that surprised you in your nerd questings here, Eric?
I was surprised by how many gained elevation versus lost. Very
Yeah.
few of those mountains lost any elevation. The vast majority, probably 80% of them actually gained. So
Huh.
that surprised me a bit. And then just some of the big numbers, like we just talked about, kind of surprised me. So yeah, that was kind of it. So
Well, for those of you listeners that want to do this, go nerd out, create your own spreadsheet like Eric. Uh, do the thing. As we've gotten to interview a number of people, the Coonies and Laura Clark and a variety of other people, I do think there is a kind of common personality characteristic in a lot of mountaineers and hikers that we like the number aspect of it. We like the record keeping
Mm.
the data associated with there is a kind of personality that's drawn to this quest.
Kind
So
of a dork factor in there
yeah,
somewhere.
I mean you're saying it, not me,
I'm
Eric. So
speaking to myself, and that's
yeah,
it.
yeah. Speak for yourself.
That's right. Well, Z, you want to finish this off with a tidy little bow?
I do. We said at the beginning of this episode, this is kind of the end of summer, and I guess I just want to say I am forever grateful for the opportunity to hike in these great mountains,
Indeed.
to go to wild places. I'm grateful in so many respects. I'm grateful that I have the means to do so. I feel blessed to do that. I'm grateful that my body will allow me to. I know that not everybody has a body that will allow them to do such things.
Yep.
I am especially grateful, though, for the blessing of the beautiful mountains and for what they give me spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and what they give everybody else. I don't know if I've told you this, Eric, but oftentimes when I go to the top of peaks, I say a little prayer, and the first part of the prayer is gratitude.
That's cool.
Thank you for this moment. Thank you for allowing me to be here in this place, for the fact that this place exists, that such beauty lives around me, such harmony that I can walk in. I'm grateful for all that. And I know that pretty much anybody that hikes shares those feelings. I don't think there's a lack of gratitude for the hills out there. Like we were saying, I always wish I could do more. I always wish I could be doing it this time of year with you, but I'm grateful for what I have. And for all of you that have had a hiking season, some time in the sun, I hope you feel the same way. There's always other emotions. There's always a feeling of connectedness and harmony and a number of maybe even pain um, mixed in with all that. But above all, for me, I'm always grateful that I can be in such a place. So I
I
just
love
wanted
it.
to end our summer. I know you're going to keep hiking out there, but if people are apt to have spiritual longings, I think that's part of what the mountains bring out in us is that sense of thank you.
I love it. That's a perfect way to wrap up our summer grab bag episode, Zach.
Yeah, we went from it was quite the narrative arc from pooping on the trail to sentimental journey, feeling of blessedness and sacredness.
Do you feel blessed by the pooping guy and the trail, though? That's maybe the next
I
question.
mean, not to nerd out too much, but in ritual theory, which, since I do religious studies, if it's a sacred space and you're pooping in it, that's called ritual failure. That's really bad. You don't do that.
That sounds bad.
Yeah, we would have to have like a second ritual to purge the poo,
Oh man,
you know,
I don't want
correct
to know
for
what
that.
that. I don't know what that ritual is going to consist of, but I'm not sure I want to be a part of it.
I mean, you're going to have to go bury it in a spot and maybe burn something over it and then
Oh man.
maybe flog the guy that pooped on the trail. Uh,
Oh, that's great.
Well, if anyone wants to tell us their stories of animals in their car or tell us other bits of etiquette, share their own sentiments about the mountains, how can they reach us, Eric?
We'll take all of it, Zach. Log on to greensandbluespodcast.podbean.com, which will lead them to most of the ways they can get a hold of us. Some of those include emailing us at
Hmm.
greensandbluespodcast@gmail.com. They can find our Facebook group. They can find our YouTube channel. At our website, they can leave us a voicemail. There was a few times where I had to kind of figure out how to debug that voicemail thing, but I think I've got it figured out now. So if anyone tried before and it didn't work, I'm sorry for that. Please try again. We would love to hear from you. And you can blue sky Zach at Zach Simpson, the real Zach Simpson. I think that's about it. I forget anything, Z?
I mean, you can snoop us on the interwebs, find my address, and send me a check in the mail too.
A Bucky's gift card.
Well, hey,
You're not near a Bucky's, are you?
I'm not. I mean, there's one in North Texas, but we should mention this on our last hike together in Holy Cross. Eric and I stopped by Blue Moon Bakery in Silverthorne, and they very kindly gave us some free treats.
Mm.
And I just want to give a shout out to them. Your carrot cake, Blue Moon Bakery, sustained me through the 16.5 to 18 mile Halo Ridge hike that we did the next day. and it was glorious. I don't know how I'm ever going to hike without that ever again.
That thing lasted a while too.
Is the best gluten-free carrot cake I've ever is best gluten-free cake I've ever eaten, but by far carrot cake. So
It's awesome.
shout out to those guys. And thank you everybody for listening, keeping up with us and sending us email and so forth. It's great to hear from you.